We're at the intersection of Chestnut Avenue and Zona Street here in Pittsburgh's north side. See the bus stop sign, 6 Spring Hill and 7 Spring Garden. But until 1957 you took the streetcar. The number 1 Spring Garden and the number 5 Spring Hill. Both were abandoned on October 6, 1957, and incredibly enough, the tracks and the original brick paved street for a few blocks is still here. So for nearly 60 years, there's been no streetcar service, but yet somehow these tracks survive. Just as a matter of safety, my brother George is helping me out. I'm not driving and videotaping. But here it is, the Chestnut Street Remnants, the number 1 Spring Garden, and number 5 Spring Hill. Another section of tracks that are still here is underneath the ramp of the Boulevard of the Allies, the old Forbes Avenue alignment. Served the 64 East Pittsburgh via Wilkinsburg, the 66th East and West Wilkinsburg via Forbes, the 67 Swissville, Rankin and Braddock, the 68 McKeesport via Homestead and Duquesne, and until 1958 also the short turn of the 68, which was known as the 69 Squirrel Hill. When the Boulevard of the Allies was reconstructed in 1964, the early Port Authority of Allegheny County, just a few months old at that time, moved most of those lines up to 5th Avenue on July 6, 1964. So it's ironic that the very reason why these tracks exist is because of the realignment. And you can see how Forbes Avenue would have originally gone. Most of those routes were abandoned a little less than 3 years later in 1967 when they were moved up to 5th Avenue. Our next location of abandoned streetcar right-of-way is taking us east of the city. We're right off of the Edgewood exit of the Parkway East. We're looking at what is now known as Allenby Avenue, or part of Allenby Avenue, but this was originally the original alignment of South Braddock Avenue before the Penn Lincoln Highway was constructed, which we now know as the Parkway East. Part of why I'm documenting these abandoned rights of way is because you can't take for granted they're going to be forever. As you can see here, part of this right of way has been paved over just recently with the construction of this new building. But the reason why this alignment was abandoned was because of the fact that the Penn Lincoln Highway was cutting right through it. Now, unlike other road improvement projects where the line was simply abandoned, this route was actually transferred to the new Braddock Avenue alignment. As you walk down here, it becomes part of Frick Park. But you can see how the rails curve over. And right in front of it is the exit ramp and the entrance ramps to the Penn Lincoln Parkway. So again, if you have any interest in this at all, I'd recommend doing what I'm doing, because you can never take for granted that these living reminders of our streetcar system here in Pittsburgh is going to last forever. We're looking at the remnants of the Munhall Loop. It was originally constructed and opened up on June 25th, 1942. And it served the 60 East Liberty Homestead and the 55A Munhall via Homestead lines. And even though it's no longer a streetcar loop, you can still see the some of the special work, the switch here, and it's now a turning loop as well for buses. We are in Wilmerding, Pennsylvania, home of the great Westinghouse Air Brake Company, now known as Wabtec. We're at St. Joseph Drive. What's unique about St. Joseph Drive here in Wilmerding is the fact that there are still the streetcar tracks on the short driveway up to the St. Joseph's apartments. What's unique about them is that they actually still have the double tracks and also those famous Pittsburgh Belgian block pavers. This section of track, as you see, curves up, went across the Pennsylvania Railroad main line, across the Westinghouse Air Brake Company, Turtle Creek, and then onto Maple Avenue on the other side. That bridge is long gone, but this section of the right-of-way is still here. There were two principal routes that basically ran on these tracks. You had the 62, which was the East Pittsburgh to Trafford line. That was discontinued on May 2nd, 1962. And Wilmerding was also the terminus of the second longest streetcar line in Pittsburgh. That was the 87 Ardmore line. Now, the Ardmore line was discontinued in 1967, but the section here in Wilmerding was actually discontinued between Wilkinsburg and Wilmerding and a few months beforehand on September the 4th, 1966. So it's been almost 50 years, 49 years here in a few more months, that the last trolley ever ran on these tracks, and yet here they are.